2 months. It's been 2 months since the last Skyrim mods video. And a question that's probably on all of your minds is, where have you been, Gim? Well, let me start off by saying how much this last year has meant to me. From 0 to thousands of regular viewers, 2020 has been the year where I've been able to turn what started out as a simple pastime hobby, sharing my love for the Skyrim modding community, into something that has entertained quite a lot of people. It's been strange, but really amazing at the same time. Getting in touch with some awesome people within the community, growing our own little weird community, and oh boy is it a weird one, but damn do I appreciate all of you. Now, sadly, somehow the year didn't end all that too well for me. But if there's anything I've learned throughout all these years, it's that no matter what kind of stops and halts I face in life, life never quite ceases to stop in the world of Skyrim. Adventurers keep on exploring its vast lands. There's mysterious intrigues always looming around every corner. In the marketplace of Whiterun, Carlotta Valentia is always looking to sell her ripe fruit and vegetables, Nazim's still a stuck-up prick, and the Forsworn have apparently invaded America.
Fucking hey, man.
And of course, the Skyrim modding scene is blooming as always, showing no signs of stopping their ever so long quest to improve our beloved game and provide us with new experiences. In my absence, there's been a lot of goodies released on Nexus, so this is the first of 2 videos where I've organized all these mods of late 2020 in a somewhat organized, categorized fashion. It'll sort of make sense as we get into it, so allow me to say, welcome ladies and gentlemen of the internet to a new video in our somewhat weekly Skyrim mod series, a series where we take a real good look at the most recent, interesting mods on Nexus. For today, we'll be starting off with a couple of recent modifications aimed at improving the Skyrim combat experience, elevating those moments you engage an enemy to not only look and feel more pleasing, but to properly force you to make use of strategic movement and decision making. Mods that will properly implement that much needed violence, speed, and momentum into Skyrim's combat system. But first, in what is a look back at a very nostalgic mod that I have a lot of fun memories of from back in the early days of Skyrim modding, a mod perfect to make use of when wanting to test out a new combat system, we have Faction Pitfighter revamped by Pierre Desperat. Residing in the isolated grey quarter of Windhelm, you'll find the entrance to the ancient pit fighters of Windhelm, once known as the city's proud arena team. They now compete in underground pit fights to earn coin and renown. This is indeed an all-new faction for you to join and set foot into the world of pit fighting alongside your new fortune-seeking comrades.
When you want to fight, you come to me. You came to join what remains of the Paladins. How very lucky we are.
This team is my life. Always has been.
I started fighting for Sorolis to keep my family housed and fed. It was that or join the war, and honestly, this seemed safer. We used to be a noble team. Many champions of the arena were trained in our ranks.
I've worked for the team since I came to Skyrim, after the Great War.
Originally released back in 2013 by 13 Oranges, that's the name of the mod author, this is surely a mod that's familiar to many of you. As a young Gim, I used to spend hours grinding through fights in the arena, climbing up the ranks and facing champions. On the mod page, the mod author explains that he's also had a soft spot for Faction Pitfighter and believes that even after all these years, it's the best arena mod available for Skyrim. But upon replaying it, he ran into small little issues and quirks that bugged him despite the nostalgia. And that is where Faction Pitfighter Revamped comes in. With fixed errors and inconsistencies, modified dialogue structure and small quality of life changes, as well as certain aesthetic overhauls to foreign arenas, gear and weapons, the mod has definitely been made more enjoyable for everyone seeking to get back into the arena. Overall, my experience replaying this has been very much enjoyable. The fully voice-acted dialogue still holds up quite well after all these years. The fights are action-packed and challenging, and the rewards you get from defeating the champions makes it quite worthwhile. I also suggest taking a look at the mod Faction Pitfighter Revamped High Poly Heads and KS Hair by Wizwar if you want to make the characters look a bit more different and modern in what is an overhaul making use of the popular high poly heads and KS hairdos. I indeed had a lot of fun revisiting this old gem. There really is something to being thrown into an arena in face of combatants looking to take your head off, all in seek of glory in front of a bloodlusty audience. But still, might it be possible to make this experience even greater? Don't get me wrong, it has the look of an epic arena combat mod, but as we all know, when it comes to standard vanilla combat mechanics, there's just not much epic about it. So ladies and gentlemen, next up we take a look at a recent, very well received mod that completely overturns the boring vanilla battle system and transforms it into something reminiscent of what is to be seen in games like Dark Souls. Here is Inpa Sekiro Combat by Inpa Skyrim. As suggested by the title of the mod, this is a hardcore combat mod that overturns the vanilla battle system, transforming it into something more similar to the combat scene in the game of Sekiro. You know, that Souls-like type of combat where you're able to block and parry more proficiently, as well as make use of momentum as the tide shifts in a battle and you've got the opponent on the back foot. Built upon another existing Sekiro combat mod, Sekiro Combat SSE, which we took a look at a while back, it makes combat look a lot flashier as well. To begin with, the mod reinvigorates the importance of stamina by introducing the posture system in what is an all-new HUD, where you'll want to keep a close eye on the posture meter. Like Sekiro, if your stamina is 0, the posture bar reaches max capacity, and you become vulnerable to more damage. In order to recover stamina, you'll have to keep your distance and keep a blocking stance. Health also plays a factor here, as high health recovers stamina faster, with low health then of course doing the opposite. The same goes for your opponents, so when that posture meter of theirs reaches maximum and is broken, a red circle will appear, indicating a sort of finish him kill move which will definitely make you feel like a badass. In addition to the posture system, the mod introduces the poise system. If a combatant is hit by any attack, it will result in a stagger, thus resulting in an increase of the attacker's poise value. As the poise value itself is accumulated by continuously pressuring and successfully attacking, it'll result in big staggers. Now, to avoid getting staggered, as most of you intelligent people watching have probably figured out, it goes without saying that you'll have to dodge and block the enemy's attack. Upon blocking at the exact right time, you'll perform a parry. By continuously parrying the enemy's attacks, you can cause them to stagger that way as well. However, keep an eye out for the perilous attack marked by some highly intimidating East Asian lettering, as it can only be avoided by either dodging or bashing. Of course, Skyrim's combat system doesn't only consist of up-close battles, so when faced with enemies at range, you're able to parry arrows, as well as magic, reflecting the magic in the direction you aim. With all of this, the mod certainly makes for a highly entertaining combat system, as you'll experience some visuals of true epicness. But be prepared to struggle a lot in the beginning, as it'll take some time getting used to, with every attack being very unforgiving. Although in beta as of right now, there's also an assassination system that, although a little rough around the edges, looks good when pulled off perfectly, and not so much when not pulled off perfectly, so keep an eye open for future updates. Would I say this mod is for everyone? No. If you're not intent on doing a heavily combat-based playthrough, the constant staggering and extra attention you'll need to pay when facing an enemy can grow to be quite tedious. Although you can make tweaks to the settings to make it better fit your preferences. What I can say with most certainty is that it really adds to the pit fighter experience in the arena. Lastly, if you're looking for a good way to pair Impa Sekiro Combat to work in synergy with other popular combat mods, I highly suggest checking out Burns' video on combat mods if you haven't already. But do that later, of course, as ooh baby, we're just getting started with the combat mods for today. Next up, we seek to improve the brutality of Skyrim's combat with more gore. Yes, this is the mod Maximum Carnage by D1. Burn, electrocute, or dismember your foes with the utmost gore to make the combat feel more extreme and dangerous. With this mod, killing opponents with power attacks and destruction spells will result in gory deaths. Different weapons yield different results. For example, smashing your opponent with a warhammer may absolutely smash their heads apart, spreading all the brain stuff, is that what it's called? All over the ground, their skull shattered to pieces, leaving the helmet an empty shell. Slashing through an opponent with a greatsword can result in splitting up their tummies, with blood and intestines pouring out, and this is YouTube friendly, right? With the use of weapons, you'll be able to leave your enemies in a sea of blood. But there are indeed ways to mark your dominance in battle onto the bodies of your foes in other ways as well. As a mage of the electrocuting arts, you'll be able to scorch their bodies, leaving them in a spazzing burn state. With the use of fire magic, you can of course turn your enemies into unrecognizable hunks of burned meat. And yes, immersively enough, it affects the body itself through their armor and clothing. With the use of ice and frost spells, you can turn people into ice chunks in what turns into a gory mess of frost and body parts. The damage caused by this mod on the human body is indeed remarkable. But ladies and gentlemen, allow me to let you know that the gore affects other creatures as well. Using shock spells on Falmers leave them burned to the crisp. Burning joggers, surprisingly enough, makes them look even worse. Finishing a giant with a frost spell will leave you welcomed with a beautiful sight, as giant pieces of frost are spread out everywhere. Slashing at a troll can also open up their tummies as well. The mod just really makes it feel like you've been in a true battle, as you leave the gory mess of your foes, be it creature or man, at your wake. Moving on, it's time to fix one of the more subtle, less talked about issues within Skyrim's game mechanics. See, the Ice Spike spell is very much one of my favorite spells to use. It's accurate, deadly on impact, and looks very cool in action. I don't know, it kinda looks like the icicles we used to lick as children during winter time. Or was that just me? Let's take a look into a situation where you might find yourself putting the spell to use. You're behind someone, you charge up the spell and release, and then there! Did you see that? Your eyes are not deceiving you. She unimmersively staggered into the wrong direction. I might not be a master mathematician, but even I know that with the trajectory the ice spike's heading, simple physics demand that she's flung forwards, not backwards. And this is where the mod Stagger Direction Fix SSE by Maxu comes in. An SKSE plugin that fixes the wrong stagger direction bug when using spells, shouts, and ranged weapons. The mod is script-free, simple, and immersive. There really is nothing to lose here by installing the mod. The same can be said about the mod author's on-hit animations framework mod that allows edits to an actor's hit behavior animations, and is necessary for the next mod, Flinching Script-Free Edition by Knickknack. It makes use of the on-hit animations framework to allow both the player and NPCs to flinch when hit. So rather than them just standing there like lifeless robots, their body actually shifts in the direction of the impact. Again, physics, and it just works, making the combat feel more impactful. But what if I told you we can make the combat even more impactful? Cause here's another script-free mod in the form of ZXSlice Hitstop SSE Script-Free by ZXSlice. A mod that gives the player much more visual feedback when attacking a target upon a hit, making it feel like your weapon's really hitting something rather than just tingling people. It does this by slowing down and restoring the speed of the weapon in timing with the impact, as well as adding a shaking camera effect. You can tweak these to your liking in the hitstop.ini file. Just be careful not to go too overboard with it. All in all the mods mentioned so far will make for an enjoyable, impactful combat experience. I definitely recommend checking out more of the latter mentioned mod author's script-free series of mods, as they act like quality of life mods, improving the Skyrim game mechanics. Lastly, just to add some more fluidity to our game, we're taking a look at the mod Simple Potion Drinking Animation by Loop. Are you tired of how there's close to no visual feedback when downing potions? Do you wish there could be perhaps a more immersive way of downing a bottle of health potion mid-combat? Well, now there is. Simply put, this mod adds its 3 own potions to the game: a standard healing potion restoring 150 points of health, a magicka potion restoring 100 points of magicka, and a stamina potion setting you back up with 120 points of stamina. These values increase as you level up. The special thing about these potions is that when consumed while your weapon's drawn out, an immersive animation will take place, giving us that satisfying visual feedback we're all looking for. Taking a step back in combat to chug a potion works flawlessly here. To make this work the best, I also recommend to make use of your preferred hotkey tool to assign for use with these potions. Now, continuing in the direction of mods that'll have you put things in your mouth, here's another immersive addition to your load order in the form of Eating Animations and Sounds SE by Nazim Uzim. This mod adds individual animations and sound effects for each food item. Just select the item in the menu and boom, you'll be munching on everything from warm apple pies and apples to soups of all kinds and shapes to fill you up so you can continue your adventuring. You know, just go ahead and stick that nut treat in your mouth, immersively chug that good drink late night at the tavern. It works splendid. Animations are short and fancy, and the sound effects, well, let's just say this beef might be a bit too well done. It's indeed a very neat mod. I also suggest checking out Xtudo's HD version of the mod, coming with higher polygon meshes, textures that might be a bit more to your liking, and several patches integrating it into other mods. Seeing your character drink potions and mead, as well as eating food of all sorts, just makes the game feel more alive and lifelike. Now it's time for us to take a look at some mods that make changes to the look of our Skyrim. Whether it be grass or water mods that affect the nature tend to excite me quite a lot. Therefore, I am very happy to let you know that we're about to take a look at 3 stunning grass mods that are quite different from one another. Starting with the first truly ever 3D grass mod for Skyrim in Cathedral 3D Pine Grass by Johnny Wang, the very mastermind behind Cathedral Landscapes and 3D Mountain Flowers from our last video, and his community. Spread throughout Skyrim's pine forest, the words lush and high quality easily comes to mind, as yes, everything from the lupines to the dandelion flowers and fluffs to the very pine grass itself are of 3D greatness, make for some amazing scenery as you walk through these forests. With photographed plants from alpine forests in real life turned into Skyrim grass and foliage, it certainly brings a sense of realism to the game, all while looking beautiful and magnetizing at the same time. With some ENBs, the beauty of the grass would definitely work to fit that fantasy theme many are looking for as well. The fact that all of this is 3D makes going up close such a joy to the eyes. I mean, just look at these fantastic divine looking clovers of such a high quality. Don't you just kinda wanna lay down here to be engulfed by the sea of green lushness? Johnny Wang does not mess around when it comes to environmental modifications. The mod just brings the best out of these pine forests, enhancing that Nordic cold but warm feel as the sun rises up above the fields covered by Cathedral 3D pine grass. Moving on, if you're more of a pure sucker for fantasy, looking for grass that brings some real density and floofness, then you've probably already made use of the various offsprings from Tamu75's original Grassfield mod from Oldrim. It's a simple mod that can add a lot of beauty to any load order. The special edition version of the mod is green, and that's exactly what made Meh321 put out the mod Recolored Grassfield, a mod that, as suggested by the name, recolors the Grassfield mod from SE. With the grass having been recolored for different regions, the pine woods will mostly consist of the same green, but with the occasional brownish grass. The Whiterun tundra grass has been made yellowy, certainly lighting up the vast plains of the hold, with a mix of both to be found in the Rift and the Reach. But the snowy areas, ladies and gentlemen, my oh my does it look pretty, sort of magical, as is befit for the typical fantasy-based load order. Wandering through the snowy regions of Skyrim with recolored Grassfield is certainly an experience to be had. What else is there to say, really? It brings a good old blankety floof of Grassfield while offering some variation to make the different regions feel more distinct. Certainly a welcome addition to the Skyrim grass modification scene. Continuing on the path of making the regions feel more distinct, there's certainly not that many grass mods as of recent that does that just as well as the mod Fantastic Grasses and Where to Find Them, a Skyrim grass mod by Strix RPG. A whole year in the making, this is a complete grass overhaul of Skyrim made from scratch, with the mod author having carefully picked different grass types to combine for each region. You will encounter everything from realistic grasses to flat grasses, from dense blankets of vegetation to lesser density. There's a very strong sense of variety here. Saying that it vastly improves upon the grass scene in vanilla Skyrim is an understatement. All areas have been enhanced with a touch of beauty. In holds like Falkreath, the pine forests are of a blend of realism with a hint of fantastical colors that'll make you want to delve deeper to explore and see what kind of vistas you might stumble upon behind the next slope of grass. Within the grass there's ferns, flowers, as well as heavenly blankets of green lupine fields. In the aspen forests of Fall, seen in the Rift, the ground is heavily covered in brownish leaves, not letting much else through other than small bushes, twigs, and small flowers. In the treacherous landscape of the Reach, a place hated by many due to its barren rocky landscape, you'll come to find that the area has gotten a much needed breath of life, with a very bloomy look of alpine grass with lots of flowers. Nothing too vibrant. Even I, with my weathered gamer eyes, was able to appreciate the new landscape from the comfort of the dark abyss that is my room. In the frozen marshes, you'll find a simple, lush grass to have a frozen touch to it, in what is a sea of dark green and grey. And I'm not gonna lie, the way the strands of grass bend kinda reminds me of the cursed but sometimes blessed front part of my own very wavy hair. There's also some nice finishing touches of reeds placed neatly at the banks of the flowing water, lighting up as beacons of hope in the otherwise very grey area. In the northern snowy regions of Skyrim, the vegetation added is sparse, with the occasional dead twigs, sticks, pine needles and cones elegantly placed here and there. The coastlines consist of nicely dense grass as well, nothing too much, as it seamlessly blends into the surrounding area. The volcanic areas are sparsely covered in lightly green mossy type grass with ferns and very volcanic-y mushrooms, if that makes sense. A lot of assets from previous work has been made use of and put together to create what is the mod fantastic grasses and where to find them. When looking at the mod page and reading the descriptions, you'll definitely get a sense of the passion put into this project by Strix RPG. I believe this is a very fine grass mod for everyone to try out, and it's quite performance friendly as well, so many should be able to put it to use. And there we have it. I think we've gotten our fair dose of grass for today, folks. Hopefully you guys got some enjoyment out of this. What can I say? SgtGimlinho's back. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll be back at it soon enough with the second part covering the 2020 mods to wrap up the previous year. As always, make sure to check out all the mod authors in the video. Link to their mod pages are to be found below. Without them, none of this would be possible. Also, if you're still watching, let me just let you know that you're awesome. And if you for some reason aren't subscribed yet, it would really make me happy if you did. With that, this has been Gim. May your road lead you to warm sands, everyone. See ya.